Erased follows 29-year-old manga artist Satoru, who has this special ability called Revival, whereby he is able to see a few minutes into the future, knowing that something is going to go wrong. He doesn't know exactly what will go wrong, but he just knows something will go wrong, so he's able to prevent it in due time. And this ability is pretty good for the most part because he is able to stop bad things from happening. However, one day something drastically bad happens in his life, and this revival sends him back all the way to when he was a kid to stop this crime from being committed, to help prevent the thing that happens in the future. When I said several videos ago that I was going to try and bring back the anime reviews for 2019, I wasn't lying. I genuinely feel really bad that I missed August, September and October. But the main reason that was because of life. Life happened. But I said that I would make it up to you by trying to bring it back for at least the end of the year, and luckily I am able to do that with November, and I will even do another one for December. However, today's review for November is for Erased, which is an anime series that I've heard a lot of good things about, and now that I've finally had the chance to sit down and watch it, I can easily see why everyone loves this show. This is absolutely brilliant piece of anime, and I loved every single aspect of it. The first thing I must say, which I've said in every other anime review, but it needs to be said here as well, is that the animation is absolutely gorgeous. It works really well for the sake of the show and the style that the show is going for, because I know a lot of animes can appear very over the top. Like, as much as I liked Your Lie in April, the presentation was very in your face, and it worked for the sake of that show, don't get me wrong. But here, Erased goes for a more restrained approach in its animation anyway, and it definitely works for the style and tone that this show anyway is going for. And I thought it worked really well because of that. And another thing that I absolutely loved about Erased was the characters. Every single character in this show is so likeable, whether you're talking about Satoru, or Satoru's mum, or Keo, or even this schoolgirl called Ari, who actually works with Satoru in the future. All of the characters are just so likeable, and I want to see more of them. That's probably the best praise I can give this show. Every character works so well for the reason they're there for, and none of them feel particularly bad, in a sense. Because I know with a show like this, and with a premise like the show has, there can be that one character here or there that is deliberately there to try and upset the main character's motivation, or like put a spanner in the works, so to speak. But none of the characters do that. All of them are very reasonable, are very human in their responses, and are all there to help one another in some form. And I absolutely loved that, because it made the show feel a lot more natural and realistic because of this. Also, the plot itself is one of those that progresses very naturally, where you're kind of guessing where the plot is going to go along the way, kind of putting you in the same position that Satoru is in. He's trying to figure out who this killer is, and you're pretty much in the same position as him. You don't know who it could be or who's a suspect, you're just trying to figure it out along with him, and that's probably one of the best praises I can give this show, along with the characters. The pacing, along with the way the plot naturally progresses from start to finish, just works incredibly well, and just it flows in a very organic way, and I just really appreciated that. Erased also doesn't over-explain or over-dramatize anything as well. Again, unlike Your Lie in April, which I thought was very over-dramatic at times, and definitely threw certain things at you to try and make you feel a certain emotion, you don't get that with Erased. All the emotions come very naturally because of how the characters act or how the plot progresses, and I absolutely loved that. Sometimes it does explain a few things plot-wise just to help you you know, get to grips with where we are in the story, but it never bashes you around the head with it, whereas something like Your Lie in April will be like, this is what this character is feeling right now, or this is what is supposed to be happening, or sometimes, you know, that can really annoy you in a show like that. But with Erased, everything just feels very normal and very human and very natural, and nothing is over-dramatized, and I absolutely loved that. The show also handles a lot of very tough subjects, whether it be domestic abuse or child serial killings, and I genuinely didn't know how it was going to handle that, but luckily the show handles it with a lot of maturity, never over-dramatizing it, like I said, and I'm kind of glad it doesn't do that as well, because these are very important and very tough subjects to handle, especially in a show like this. But the way it goes about presenting these issues feels very natural, feels very realistic in the way that they are presented, and again, never feels overly dramatized in any way, because I feel if it was over dramatic in its presentation, then it would kind of lose the respect of the issue that it's trying to cover. But the fact that it just handles it in a very subtle and nuanced way, I really did appreciate that about the show, because these are very, very tough subjects to talk about, especially in a show like this, and the fact that it handles it in the way that it does really does add a lot more subtlety to the show, and it also adds another layer to the show that really makes it better than, say, your average anime. In the end, I have to give Erased a 10 out of 10. This show was practically flawless. I loved every single aspect of it, and the way that it tackles certain things in the show is just genuinely mind-blowing. I loved everything about this show, and I would happily watch it again in a heartbeat. And I'm very glad they haven't gone ahead with a season 2. I don't know if there were any rumours out there, but I also feel that season 1, or this season anyway, just works very well as its own contained thing. If they did a season 2, yeah, I would probably watch it, but I feel like it maybe would ruin the show a little bit. And maybe not live up to what season 1 delivered. I loved this season, and I thought it works really well as a singular contained story that has a perfect end, a perfect middle, and a perfect finish. And I highly recommend it. If you're into anime, or if you're starting to get into anime like myself and are trying to find certain things to watch, or you don't know where to start, I highly recommend you watch Erased, because it's one of the most perfect shows I've seen in a long time. So guys, that was my review of Erased. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.